Indeed. Well, today, Alicia, we're going to talk a little bit initially about this new tier system. And we polled the viewers, and this is a question that keeps coming up. What is this tier system? How does it actually work? So I'm going to turn it over to you, Alicia, to help shed some light on this so that people know what to expect come November and how it might impact on their applications for permanent residence to Canada.
Absolutely. So this is something that everybody who is interested in having an express entry application and who may already have a profile sitting in the pool, make a note on your calendars, mark it down, star it, underline it. November 16th, 2022, that's the date that you need to update your National Occupation Classification Code from the old 2016 version, so that old four-digit code that you've currently picked as your primary occupation and you've slotted in your work experience as one of those four-digit codes. As of November 16th, 2022, you're going to need to go in and update your express entry profiles to make sure that you are putting in the new five-digit TEER code. So TEER, and this is the new way that immigration is listing basically all of their high skilled and lower skilled work. And so of course, under express entry, if you have lower skilled work, for most programs, it's not going to qualify. And in the old world, that used to be NOC C or D. So skill type 0, A, or B is going to qualify you. And under the new tier system, there's 6 tiers. So there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So under the new tier system, you're going to need to have a job experience that fits under 0, 1, 2, or 3. So here's where you can figure out what the exact eligibility criteria are for express entry. And it's really important to keep in mind that this does correspond with the way the world was working under the old system, but it's really important to make sure you're meeting those minimum eligibility criteria. So if you're looking at CEC, if you have job experience in Canada that qualifies, Canadian qualifying work experience, then which tier you fall under is going to also affect which language scores you have to have. So if you are looking at a management level job, a tier 0 or a tier 1, then you're going to need to have CLB level 7 on your language. If you're looking at a tier 2 or 3, you're going to have CLB 5. So that's important to make sure that your IELTS or CELPIP results are showing that. And as well, you have to have at least 1 year of qualifying work experience inside Canada from one of tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. So this is all for CEC. If you keep scrolling down, it's going to give you some more eligibility criteria for express entry for Canadian experience class. Yes, you've got to have at least 1 year of Canadian experience within the last 3 years, either a combination of full-time or part-time work. Keep in mind you can't count more than 30 hours of work per week, and it's got to add up to about 1,560 hours. And then the job offers for CEC is technically not required. Education, even though it says not required, of course, most people are not going to have a high enough CRS score unless you at least have a bachelor's degree. Sometimes you might be able to figure out a way if you're fantastic in English and French, but generally this is the requirement for CEC. For TIER, if you scroll up again for federal skilled workers, so these are all the people that have work experience from outside Canada, you always have to meet that CLB 7. So no matter which tier you fall under, that language requirement is going to be CLB 7 level for English and or French. In terms of your work experience, make sure, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky because now there are new occupations that are going to fall within that high skilled work category. So for people who, this could be good news because maybe in the past they had some jobs that didn't fit, that they weren't able to claim under NOC C or D that now have been bumped up into NOC 2 or 3. So go back through your employment history, see what it is that you have been doing, check these NOC concordance tables, and it might be that you now are able to claim more foreign work experience, and you're going to get more points depending on how many years of foreign work experience you can claim. So you're looking at that middle category. We're looking at federal skilled worker categories, 1 year of work experience in tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. So that's what you got to make sure that you have for your minimum eligibility. If you have more years of work experience, you're going to get more points for foreign work, up to a maximum of 3 years of foreign work experience. And then in terms of the minimum eligibility, again, they're going to look back over a 10-year period. And this is where the work has to be continuous. You've got to pick what your primary occupation is going to be. And I don't know about you, Mark, but I get a lot of
Yeah.
questions about primary occupations. So be careful in terms of the primary occupation that you pick so that you do meet those minimum eligibility requirements. And job offers, again, it's not required, but if you do meet those selection criteria and you do have arranged employment, meaning that you have an employer who's obtained a new positive LMIA that lists you as a named employee, or in some circumstances, if you've already been working for that Canadian employer for 1 year, then you can claim arranged employment. Be careful on arranged employment. Many, many people get it wrong. But otherwise, you do have to have secondary education for the federal skilled worker class. And of course, if you've got more education, you get more points. If you are looking at applying with a spouse, you can get some points for your spouse's education if they have their education credential assessment as well. And then the last category under Express Entry, and it's probably a smaller pool of applicants, but we have the federal skilled trades positions. And so be careful again that there is a difference in terms of speaking and listening versus reading and writing. So there is a little bit more leniency in the federal skilled trades categories, but you have to fit within one of these major groups. And this is the same for TEER as it was for the NOC B occupations. So make sure that you are fitting in one of these major groups. So 72, 73, 82, 83, 92, 93, and then the 6320 for cooks and the 6220 for 00 for chefs now. So in general, everything's flipping over to TEER. TEER is just a new way of saying, well, wait a second, we've updated the NOC. We've updated the National Occupation Classification Code to this 2021 version. And that's why we have changes to how the government is viewing people's occupations.
Yep. And I know, Alicia, we had, actually, I'll just flip over here. Those of you who are, want a little bit more information, we have a blog post on our website that also goes into this in depth, and we encourage you to slide over and check that out. We'll have a link to that in the description, but this goes into detail, some of the changes, how it's structured, and I don't know, Alicia, if there's any additional information you want to share in terms of some of the winners and losers of occupations.
Yeah, if you keep scrolling down in the article here, it does go through which occupations become eligible, and they're listed here. And the NOC codes are also listed on the website as well. So these people now will be able to claim points. So if you have an occupation in the past that you would like to rely on for some foreign work experience, well, now you'll be able to do that. One thing that we've talked about a lot, Mark, is if you're magically creating jobs and adding them to your Express Entry, especially after you've received an invitation to apply. So in those circumstances, we'd recommend you book a consult because you really want to make sure, and this is all going to only happen after November 16th, so you're not eligible to add these jobs until November 16th, 2022. But think about it now. Start to prepare now that if you know that you were a transport truck driver, for example, and you could never claim that experience before, start contacting your employers, start trying to find your pay stubs and your tax records, start asking for employment records or a letter of reference from your employer so that you can be ready when November 16th rolls around and you can update your Express Entry profile and be certain that you are properly claiming your foreign work experience points.
Yeah, exactly. And then these are some that are not as lucky.
Yeah, so these are ones that have fallen off for in general under Express Entry. It's the top three. So other performers, program leaders and instructors in certain types of recreation, sport, and fitness. And then, yeah, we've got some actors and some specific jobs under Express Entry, or sorry, I've got dressmakers. There we go. I couldn't figure out
Yes.
what that second word was.
Yeah.
Um, so, these are furriers and these are very specific jobs,
Yeah.
but in
That's quite.
general,
Yeah.
there's not many that have fallen off
No.
federally.
Yeah.
It does affect the Atlantic Immigration Program provincially for some of the PNPs. And the link above that we have in our blog site also talks about, you know, TEER is going to affect everything in immigration, not just Express Entry. So it's also going to be affecting the provincial nomination programs, many of which are linked to Express Entry. So make sure that you are looking at this so that you're not caught off guard and you're not going to be potentially losing a nomination under PNP or one of the federal draws under an ITA.